The Walking Dead Rewrite, Season 7, Episode 13, Dead or Alive. Now, this episode would start with the burial of Tara. We get to see the grave here, and we get to see Rick and Michonne and a few of the others, of course, that are all at Alexandria. And basically, Rick has Tara's old gun because when she attacked the sanctuary, she didn't take this gun with her. However, this is the, the normal pistol with the silencer gun that's, Tara always had. And Rick basically decides, instead of just putting it on her grave, she's used it for a while, but he's going to take it with him, in order to kind of use it and that type of stuff. For the war, any guns, kind of count, that type of thing. So basically, we get to see that Maggie decides that she's going to take the rest of the characters, the kids, and everybody else to the hilltop. And basically, Glenn decides that he's going to stay back with Rick, Michonne, Morgan, Rosita, and Daryl, who is also deciding to take Dwight with them just because, he simply doesn't trust Dwight. So, and obviously Dwight killed Denise and all that kind of stuff. So Daryl is going to take Dwight with them. Now, basically, what these characters are going to do is that as Maggie takes the rest of the kids to the hilltop, they are going to basically stay back, as Glenn says, and maybe try to take as much kind of food and supplies as they possibly can from Alexandria, but they want Maggie and the others to go to hilltop, now, because obviously, they don't want the kids being there too long. There's fires, there's stuff like this, but, the rest of them, they're going to stay back, and they are basically going to try to get whatever they can left from Alexandria, and then they will catch up. Now, the other reason why is because they are also thinking, they're like, well, the saviors, they got to know that they didn't kill all of us. So if there's any saviors kind of lurking around or stuff like that, kind of trying to watch them, they will get them. So it's just really an idea for our kind of main fighters here to kind of just really make sure that everything's good. So now Maggie and, Carol and the King and the others will take the kids to Hilltop. And as they drive out of Alexandria, we cut to the intro. Now, basically, Rick and the others be going, of course, and you have Michonne that tries to close the gate with the one walker that kind of rips his face, which I thought is a really, really awesome scene. Just a lot of cool kind of gore here. And basically, she tries to kill a few of them, but then she just notices that, there's so many of them, that type of thing. Now, we would have Rick and a few others that are in Rick's house, and they're kind of trying to get as much food as they can, because obviously this house, Rick's house, wasn't burned down, of course, because this is the one that Negan was in. And basically, we get to see that they're kind of just getting, the last little bits of what they can from Alexandria. And they load some of the supplies that they took from Alexandria in the back of this van, and of course they head out. And as they're coming out, once they're done, we get to see the same exact sign that we saw, except now obviously Alexandria has fallen, and that's why we focus on this sign, is almost to say, like, it's like, yeah, Alexandria is kind of done now, that type of thing. Now basically Negan would be talking to Simon, and Simon would basically come up with the idea once again that he mentioned back in the previous few episodes, that he thinks that they should definitely spare some of the other kind of more minor saviors' life and make them go to Hilltop and fight Rick and the others. Why risk our lives when we could just send in a bunch of the saviors that don't mean anything to us? And Negan is just like, wow, I am doing my best to hold it together right now. And he'd be like, every single person in here is a resource. I'm not just going to send a bunch of random people that obviously have would give their lives for the saviors, but it doesn't matter, Simon. We are going to deal with this on our own. This is our fight. Rick wants to kill me. He doesn't care about any of us here. I can tell. He probably doesn't care. As long as I'm removed, he would probably let everybody here live. I know that. I'm not stupid. And basically Simon's just like, he's like, no, boss, definitely not. But he's like, but don't you just think we should consider it, that type of thing? And then he's just like sitting there thinking to himself, he's like, Simon, I've told you before, and I'm going to say it again. This is our fight, not the workers, not anybody else's fight. We go to Hilltop. We do what we're going to do. And I actually have a couple ideas I wanted to run through with you. But you know what? I've heard enough. Get out of here. And Simon's just like, no, we got to do it. And he stands his ground. He's like, no, we got to do it. This is not us. We shouldn't die fighting, a stupid group that turned on us, that type of thing. And then Negan slams the bat on the table and he's like, you will do your job. And then he says, if I say we go to the hilltop right this second and eliminate them, then that is what we're going to do, Simon. We are not not sending people that barely even have anything to do with this fight into the hilltop. We are going to go there. We are going to fight on our own. And if you can't deal with that, then you will get the iron. And then Simon just takes a step back and he's just like, sorry, boss, like takes a deep breath and he's like, sorry, boss, I just thought it was a good idea. And Negan says, well, never bring up that sarcastically great idea up to me again. And then Simon basically kind of just leaves and Negan basically says, yeah, get the hell out of here, that type of thing. So Negan is obviously very mad now because, Simon just wants to risk a bunch of the random saviors because he thinks that they don't mean anything. But to Negan, every life counts at the sanctuary. And Negan views it as, we're at war, Rick wants to kill me, so I'm the one that's going to go to Hilltop when the time is right, that type of thing. Now, later in the day, Negan and the others would be outside of the sanctuary, and basically Negan would be talking about how, just some small talk, how he's like, man, we got to build this place back up. What Rick and the Piss Patrol did, they're going to feel sorry for what they did to our home. And then basically you have DJ that comes up to Negan and he says, Negan, and he's like, yeah, what is it? And he's like, it's Rick on the walkie-talkie. And Negan's like, huh, like he has that look on his face, like he's like, all right, then I guess I'm going to talk. Now, unfortunately, during their trip, a little over about halfway through to the hilltop, about halfway through their trip, unfortunately, they do run out of gas. However, good thing is they made it a decent way, almost to hilltop. However, they just unfortunately did not have enough fuel, and unfortunately, they do have to walk a little bit to hilltop. It's not going to be the longest trip, but they just did not quite make it there. Unfortunately, maybe they just thought they had more fuel than they actually did, and now they have to walk, unfortunately. However, they do try to take as much of the supplies as they can from the back of the van, of course, that they took from Alexandria, and they go on foot. Now, then we also get to cut to Hilltop, and we get to see that Maggie and Carol and the others are back there now, and basically they are all kind of getting prepared for a fight. They're, making sure that those walls are good, and, they're putting, metal on them and stuff like that. They're really, they're putting shields all over the place, and they're getting the vehicles in position, and they're really just, I guess, really preparing for any kind of fight because, Maggie's mindset here, and, I think we could all understand, Maggie's mindset is that it's like, well, let's hope Rick and the others will be back in time, but who knows? Maybe the Saviors will try to come here in an hour. We don't know. So, she's just trying to get everything ready just in case, maybe Rick and the others aren't there and they could still, defend the place, that type of thing. So that's what they are basically doing here as they are kind of just, getting the hilltop ready for the last stand, so to speak. Now, Rick and the others would be on foot and basically they would run into the swamps. Now, Dwight would let them know basically that, Negan wanted to go, around here, but the swamp was too dangerous. And then Daryl's just like, you guys aren't going to listen to him, are you? And Daryl's just like, it was too dangerous for the Saviors, so now we're going to do this. And Rick basically says, listen, do you have any other idea that's, possibly better than this, Daryl? And then Daryl just kind of stands there, and Rick's just like, yeah, I didn't think so. So basically, the idea here is that, a lot of the characters are going to go in the swamp. However, Daryl says that he's going to stay back, and he's going to guard Dwight because he does not trust Dwight and that type of thing. So basically, Rick and, Glenn, Morgan, Rosita, and Michonne and the others, they go into the swamp, and basically they start, walking through, and you have one of the walkers that jumps Rosita. Now, obviously, it's a close call. However, she does manage to take this one out. Rick and Michonne kill a few, and obviously Michonne with her sword here in the swamps. That, definitely helps because Michonne is amazing with her sword. However, basically, they fight their way through. There's a few that kind of come out of the water, and we get some pretty, high-tension scenes here as, the walkers kind of come, and, they kind of come towards them and stuff like that. However, they do manage to fight their way through, and they continue on. Now, in the meantime, you have Daryl that basically has Dwight, and he gives Dwight a knife, basically, and, he kind of just, lets him kind of walk around with it, and he basically says, look, Daryl, I'm sorry for all I did. And he's like, I don't expect you to forgive me, but, just figured I'd let you know. And then basically Dwight kills a walker, and once he turns around, Daryl points the crossbow towards him, and it's just like, no, Daryl, we can understand why he's doing it, because obviously he doesn't trust him, and Dwight did a lot of bad things to him. But basically, Daryl tells him, now that Daryl's alone with Dwight, he basically tells him, he's like, you should have stayed with the Saviors. And he's like, yeah, I hate them. I hate Negan. And Daryl's just like, yeah, I don't care. You don't get to switch sides and make it okay. And, Dwight's just like, yeah, I know I don't. But killing me right now like this, what is that going to do? And Daryl says, it's going to help me feel a lot better about things. And he tries to shoot him. However, the arrow hits the tree and just slightly misses his head, and Dwight starts running. Now, in this version, yes, Daryl would run after him as well, too. And basically, we would have kind of a back and forth as they're kind of, as he's kind of chasing him. And then in this version, there is a twist to it. The Saviors find Dwight as he's running away from Daryl, and he actually does kind of get away from him. But then the Saviors run into Dwight, and he's just like, he's like, I've been running all night, that type of thing from the dead ones, and they're just like, well, we were about to check out the swamps, and, and he's like, oh, I just came from there. There's nothing, And then Daryl kind of notices this, and Daryl's just like, oh, so Dwight just saved me. Wow, I feel like an idiot, that type of thing. And basically, they're like, yeah, lead the way, Dwight, that type of thing. And it's basically a scene to prove to Daryl that, yeah, Dwight, he is on your side because he just saved your life. And then Daryl kind of just, kind of looks behind him and he figures, well, I guess I'm going to go back. And, you got to be thinking in Daryl's head, too. He's probably thinking, man, how on earth am I going to explain this to the group? And then basically Daryl gets back and you have Glenn that gives him crap for it. Glenn's just like, Daryl, I told you this was not the right time. And he does. He says it right to Daryl's face. He says, I'm sorry. That was a stupid decision. I have no idea why you actually did that. And then Rick's just like, well, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense. Did we really know that we could trust him fully? And Glenn's just like, who cares? We're on a simple trip to Hilltop, and, you guys are pulling all this stuff right now. It's like, it's not the time. We just lost Alexandria, and you guys are doing all this stuff right now? I'm sorry. Terrible decision. And it's good because Glenn is thinking what the audience is thinking, too. It's like, did you really have to do that? That type of thing. And we know why Daryl doesn't like Dwight. We know Daryl has a really bad past with Dwight, so it does make sense. But it's still just such like a bad timing situation for Daryl to do something like this. And Glenn calls him out on it. And I think that makes total sense in this scene. Now, basically, Rick decides that before they continue on, Rick has had enough of this. He wants to hear from Negan. So he contacts him on the walkie-talkie. And obviously, this goes back to earlier in the episode when Negan picked up the walkie-talkie. Now, Negan basically talks to him back and forth and says, he's like, well, I guess you guys made it out now, did you? Yeah, actually a lot of us. And it's going to stay that way too. And then Negan basically responds with, don't be so sure, Rick. We're at war here. One of us is going down. And he would basically say, I am too awesome to die right now, Rick. And you are emotional right now, Rick. You are out for blood. I'm out for the future. I am doing things for the future of my people, while you are doing things because you want revenge. And then Negan basically says, do you want to talk face to face? Why don't you pay me a visit, Rick? I will gladly let you in. And obviously this is Negan, just trying to mess with him, basically that whole type of thing. And then Rick says, you killed some of the people I care about. A lot of my people are standing, but the people you killed last night, that woman, what you did to my home, don't worry. You'll be sorry for it one day. Negan says, well, if I'm not sorry for it now, I don't think I will be. And Rick's just like, you will. He says, Rick, all this death, it's all because of you. You set this course, Rick. Who's next? And then Rick says, you are. And then Negan's like, no, but someone is. And he's like, you see, I stop people from dying. I am the answer. And Rick is basically just like kind of standing there, just kind of, just like rubbing his head, being like, oh my goodness, like seriously, this guy just doesn't shut up, that type of thing. And basically they'd be talking back and forth, and Negan would throw out the same line, you just give up, Rick. Go on, give up, because you have already lost. And Rick finishes the conversation with saying, don't worry. I told you before, and I'm going to tell you again. Nothing is going to change me killing you. And he basically, signs off. And then Daryl would say, so? And Rick's just like, what do you think? Nothing's changed. And then Rick says, let's get to Hilltop. Now, Negan would be giving a speech to the Saviors, and this is when Dwight would show up, of course, and he'd kind of be standing there with the others. And this is when he brings up, of course, that, they have this great idea now to, of course, infect, the Hilltop, that type of thing. And he's just like, we want people to join the club, one way or another, dead or alive. Something in between. And he kind of just looks at his bat with this big smile on his face, and we just know it's like, oh, darn it, like the next episode, he's about to do something really bad, So that was The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 13, Dead or Alive. I do realize that this is a bit of a slower episode. I do agree with that, and I could definitely see people's perspective on that, and I know I'm going to probably get some comments like that. However, the big purpose for this episode is to really serve as kind of a bridge between the end of the Alexandria kind of community in the last episode and all the deaths we had and stuff, and of course leading into the rest of the war. This really focuses on where the survivors are at after the destruction of Alexandria, really a emotionally, mentally, where they're at, and also even on the Savior's side too a little bit, where Negan's at as a leader, where Negan's plans are at, where Simon is at, kind of, expressing how he feels about the war and how he thinks they should do things. And it really just serves as kind of a bridge between these kind of war episodes here. So very excited for you guys to see the rest of the war. We only have 3 episodes left of this season, guys, so stay tuned, because coming up next is The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 14, The Key. Thanks for watching.
Anybody out there?